here?
Really?
What about 85.1? No color correct? We're okay?
Let's do it anyway, just in case.
All right.
1 second, hold that. Perfect. Thank
All right,
you.
Lance, you got a surprise announcement.
The first is that I have bifocals. These were given to me. I knew that because of Rick's massive IQ, I had to somehow step up my game. So I got glasses, which immediately increased my IQ. The second announcement is that I can't seem to get my points from being deleted and censored by Rick and Camille. I asked them to put back what I said about Islam last week, and you cut out the first part where I said Muhammad was a pedophile.
Wait, hold
He
on.
raped a 9-year-old girl that was a Christian slave. Her name was Aisha, and this is in the Hadith. Nobody's arguing about it. This is part of Muslim history. So the first thing that bothers me is that gets censored. That
Did we throw
as
up
Americans,
everything? I thought we threw everything into that.
No,
84.3.
you cut out the part where I said Muhammad was a pedophile. And so you're not going to censor this right now?
I don't know, but no, this brings up another point.
Well, wait. And the second point I'm trying to make is that you guys are actually doing what Islam wants. You're actually bowing to them just like they're doing around the world. This is how they take over, by getting people afraid of them. It's a gangster type religion where they try to scare people into only saying good things about them. There are laws in Europe right now that you can't criticize Islam.
Well, here's what I want to do.
Except actually, it's not just Europe, it's Europe and Rick Rosner are also
Well, I
part
thought
of
we
the deal.
look, we discussed it for a couple weeks because I thought our thing got even uglier than usual.
Okay.
And then I thought we threw up everything, and we put up everything last night. But
Okay, so you're saying it was just a mistake?
possibly, I don't remember because the first editing we did was like a month ago now.
What we sent you that you previewed,
Yes.
was that?
No, that was not. That was in there. Yeah.
Oh, so that's in there.
It's in there.
It's in what you sent me.
No, it's also in what went up last
We just
night.
copied exactly.
No, it isn't.
And then
The first
if it's
part.
not, then they could be an editing error because
Okay.
It could be an editing error.
All right.
because we're
okay.
fantastically lazy when it comes to editing.
Well,
we're just
I'm glad. Okay. All right. You know
But
what?
here's what I wanna
stand
do.
corrected. I'm glad to hear that.
Here's what I want to
really
do
am.
because I think I've been thinking about this for a month because I would like to invite somebody. I'm sure that LA's a big town. I'm sure that we could find somebody to come speak on behalf of Islam on our show. Somebody who actually knows stuff, because you know what you've read, and I know kind of what I've read or looked at it on the internet, or I can assume based on there being 1.7 or 1.8 billion. My assumption is that out of nearly 2 billion people who are Muslims, that there's a great variety of practices and beliefs, and
No.
you say no. Hold on. You like to argue that it's heretical to change the Quran,
Yes.
but that doesn't mean that there aren't like tens of thousands of Islamic clergy who present their interpretation.
No, that's absolutely false.
No,
if you are a clergyman of that religion, you're not allowed to change. You're not allowed to interpret it in some cool way that Rick would like.
Yeah, but
There's no liberal Muslim clergymen that are playing the guitar and wearing flowers in their hair and saying, "Man, it's just all peace and love."
Yeah, but
that's
there are those guys.
That's in movies in the 1960s about Jesus. but it's not happening in the Islamic religion.
Yeah, but there are still a gazillion sects of Islam.
No, there aren't.
Yeah, well,
No, there aren't. There is Sufi and there's Sufi and there's Shia and there is
there's
Sunni.
and there's another half
that's
dozen
it.
smaller
Sufi,
little. There's
Shia, and Sunni. That's
Yeah,
it.
no.
Those are the big three.
the big three, but then there's a bunch of.
Well,
little,
what are the other ones, Rick?
I don't know. We'd have
So
to
you're
look
just
them up.
making this shit up.
No, well, yeah. Actually.
You are.
No,
You're
hold
just
on,
fantasizing.
Hold on. Yeah, but let me make my. Yeah, that I probably.
There's this beautiful liberal Islam where everybody's fucking gays and they've got male and female clerics and all running around half naked and singing songs with guitars and they're just really like flower children. Is that it?
No.
And okay, so then
But-
you're just making this up.
I'm saying that there's a range of.
No, there isn't.
Look,
You'd like there to be, but there isn't.
there's the Quran is one book, right? It's a big, thick book.
There are three books. There are there's the Hadith, which is the life of Muhammad, the Quran, and there's one more, which I forget. I'm
All
sorry.
right, so maybe 2,000 pages total if all the books are thick. But that I know from my experience with the Bible that even though there's a bunch of stuff set out there, the people still have to figure out what the Bible says.
But they're not doing that with the Quran. The clerics are telling them what it says.
But not
It's not the same. You're making this up, Rick.
But clerics
you're saying that in my religion, there's all these liberal reforms and all these interpretations. Therefore, you're assuming something that's not true about another religion.
Well, but the deal is, here's what I want to do.
You want to bring in a cleric to argue with me?
I want to bring in somebody from I bet you there's an Islamic center at UCLA.
Yeah, they lie.
So anyway, if the people you read present Islam in fairly dire terms. Now you think they're telling the truth, but
I have reason to believe what I'm saying.
All right, so but
No, wait. I've been alive since in the past 30 years, and I've seen continuous terrorism and all the laws that I've described to you. So it's this is what's so bizarre to me.
No, so here's wait, let me make my point.
All right, make your point.
So we can't have just somebody from an Islamic center come and speak to us.
We cannot.
We can't have just that person because you will call foul and say no, that they're not presenting it straight. So what we need to do, because we're just two guys who know some stuff. And
well, I know some stuff. You're completely ignorant.
All right, fine. But I think I want you can bring in somebody like one of the people whose podcast you listen to, or somebody who follows the whoever we can get, because it's a tiny show, so it's not like we can get frickin' Meryl Streep here to talk about anything.
Rick, listen to me. Here's the problem. We can figure this out on our own. Okay, just listen. Okay, you've had your say. Now I'm going to talk. All right?
Fine.
Okay. The reason that you need experts to come in is because you can't believe your own eyes because you're so brainwashed. Now, I have told you about the laws in other Islamic countries. You can look up those laws, and when you looked up whether 200 million women had their clitorises removed, you found I was right. If you look up the laws in Iran, you'll find that homosexuality is punishable by death. If you look up the law in Saudi Arabia, you'll find that women were not able to drive cars until this year. You'll find that there is a tremendous amount of slavery practiced in the Islamic world.
What are you doing here? What's going on?
I got a piece of blackberry stuck in my tooth.
Okay. All right. Technical problem. All right.
Okay, so all of these things, you'll find that women are being stoned to death in Afghanistan. I can go to every single Muslim country and find a horrifying law that is on the books. So you don't need an expert. Only a brainwashed person would need to bring an expert in to prove to them that what I'm saying isn't true. You just have to go to the internet and look at the laws. So the thing the thing you have to do is just use your head. Say to yourself, why is it that in all these Muslim countries, people are being executed for adultery and blasphemy, leaving the religion, carrying a Bible? People were executed recently in Pakistan for becoming Christian. So, these things are real, and it's not my imagination. I don't need an expert. It was in the news. It was in the New York Times.
All right, so
my question is, why is it that you can't believe it? I know, and then you never change your opinion. So then you'll say something like, well, in Christianity, everyone was really mean, and now we're all playing guitars and dancing with roses in our hair and having homosexual sex, and everything's just great. So it must be that way somewhere in Islam. And I'm trying to tell you, no, it isn't. Nowhere. Nowhere is it like that. In fact, even when Islam comes here, in the Somali communities in Minnesota, they've started genitally mutilating their children. So in England, when the Pakistanis moved into England, they raped 100,000 English Christian girls.
well, that's on trial right now, right?
No. It was mentioned in Parliament. A member of Parliament mentioned
Your
it.
guy. What's
No,
your guy?
wait, just let
No,
me
hold
finish
on.
my
No.
point. You said I could talk.
but wait.
Please be
No,
quiet.
isn't there a court case
No. I'm going to finish what I'm saying. They raped 100,000 English girls in England because Muhammad raped Christian girls. That was one of his practices. And that's the person that heads that religion, Muhammad. So my point is this. What is it about these facts that can't sink into your brainwashed mind? That it's not the same as Protestantism or Hinduism?
I'm not saying it's the same. No,
Why do you
but hold
need
on.
an expert to tell you these things aren't true?
Well, here's why I need an expert. Because your people. No, well, hold on. Start with that case with 100,000 rapes. Isn't
Yes.
that case on trial? Currently on trial right now.
No, there's no case on trial. What are you talking about?
Who's your guy who's been prohibited, got thrown in jail? You said unfairly for.
Yeah, they released him because they found that he was doing the right thing. The British government caved.
But wasn't he outside trying to cover? There's some kind of court proceeding about.
Okay, Rick, I'll explain it to you, but you'll have to listen. You can't interrupt me.
Fine.
All right. Tommy Robinson was covering a case where they found 7 Muslims, the religion that you believe in, had raped English children, Christian English children, because Muhammad raped Christian children. And because of that, he was standing outside with a microphone interviewing people walking into the courtroom. Now that is there are ways of saying that that's not quite legal, but the information had already been released by the London Times, which meant it was legal. So they released him. The Tommy Robinson is free today because he was doing the right thing in publicizing Muslim rape of children. Now, for some reason, you need an expert to tell you that this is not a problem, that Islam does not rape children.
That's not. Here's the deal. Now,
Did Muhammad rape a child named Aisha, a Christian child? It's in the Hadith. I can look it up.
All right. Apparently.
Okay, so and that is why over 100,000 English girls are being raped now.
Now, if I look,
They actually just this month, 2 Swedish girls were beheaded. They're good looking too. Before they beheaded them,
All right. So.
and the reason it's allowed to behead Christians is because they are un-Islamic. According to the rules of Islam, you can if someone won't become a Muslim, you're allowed to use violence.
All right, so here's what I've been saying, and here's what I'll give you. There are plenty of places where there are 1.8 billion Muslims
Going back
in
to
the
the
world.
same math argument again?
Yeah, I am, because
It was really bad for you last week, Rick. It didn't work out. So you want to try that again?
Yeah, here's the
Well, listen, I just want to apologize to our viewers. I expected a little more ingenuity from him, but you're just going to have to hear it again.
All right.
Sorry.
It's stupid to think that nearly a quarter of the world,
Yeah.
which is 1.8 billion people, that
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
how would you get 1.8 billion people to quit practicing a religion?
Well, it's not stupid, Rick. Actually, it's stupid.
Well, how would you
it's
do it?
stupid to think that when people come up with a stupid idea, that you have to go along with it. Communism is no longer believed in Russia. The only people that believe in communism today are in the Democrat Party. Alexandria Cortez, the woman you're going to vote for.
Oh, why?
She
Because
believes in communism.
No, she doesn't.
She was a member of the Socialist Party.
Is that socialism communism?
Yes. Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Now, there are bad ideas that people overcome. This is what you keep saying. You said this
Well,
all
so
the
how do you-
wait,
all right,
wait,
so
wait.
no,
How do you
how
do
do
it?
you- no, how do you overcome
I
that?
will explain it to you because we didn't get around to that. You just kept asking,
Well,
what do you do? What do you do? Rick, you change people's minds. You try to reason with them. The first thing you do is you clarify in your own head what's right and wrong. Now, that happened to me. I got clear. I realized Islam is an evil ideology. It should not exist any more than Nazism does, any more than communism should, any more than 100 other barbaric religions and cults that have existed all throughout the history of man. We don't sacrifice children in volcanoes anymore. We don't burn bulls in a big stadium and drink their blood.
Let me ask you this.
So
let me
so-
ask you. No,
so
let me
you
ask.
over-
Let me ask you this: would you be okay, say, with Islam, where some council of whomever, where throughout the world of Islam, it was accepted that the Quran could be revised?
No, because it's bullshit. It's not going to be. You can't. You have something. Okay, Islam was created as a justification for the Arabs to conquer North Africa.
Yeah, but Islam incorporates a lot of Christian principles.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. If it did, okay. This is what happened. Okay.
Are the Ten Commandments part of Islam?
Not that I know of. I don't know. When you say it incorporates parts of Christianity, they both believe that there is a God. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess their version of God says that they should be able to conquer North Africa and the Middle East. Don't interrupt me. What happened is this creed, this cult, was formed as a justification for the ancient Arabs to sweep out of the Arab Peninsula and conquer the Middle East, Near East, and North Africa. That was what it was for. It's not a real religion. It's an ideology that justifies turning the rest of the world into slaves. So no, it shouldn't be reformed. The best thing that could happen with Muslims today is that they give up their religion, become Christian, Hindu, Jewish, or atheist.
How do you compel
Or
a
Buddhist.
quarter of the world to give up their beliefs? How do
Well, you got to start the quarter of the world right here. Now, there are a small percentage of Americans and Europeans, and Muslims, by the way, or Arabs, that realize that it's an evil ideology. Now, we're trying to convince you, the enlightened people that know something about this are trying to explain to you, the liberal Democrats and other brainwashed people, that this is an evil ideology. Now, if we can form a united front, all the Europeans, all the Christians, all the Americans,
You mean like it during
both Democrat,
like the Crusades?
both
You want
Democrat,
modern Crusades?
Both Democrat. Could you please let me speak? You ask a question and you throw in this stupid remark. If I'll start again. If all Arab Christians,
You don't have to
if
start
all
again.
Europeans, if all Americans, Democrat and Republican, if all Christians and Jews understood that we were facing a barbaric credo, a barbaric death cult, and we admitted it, and we said, okay, this should not be allowed to spread, then number one, we would cut down immigration from those countries. We wouldn't let it come into our countries. Number two, we would insist on them behaving themselves in their own countries by not persecuting and murdering Christians and throwing acid in women's faces for being caught reading books.
So how do you enforce it in Indonesia and Pakistan, in Saudi Arabia?
Sanctions, economic sanctions, if not embargoes. We can also insist that they allow churches into their countries. If we have to accept mosques into their countries, into our countries, why can't we put churches in their countries? What kind of weird fucking religion won't let another religion open a church in their country? This is what you're supporting, Rick.
Not really.
It is, because you keep saying 1.4 billion will never change their mind. Well, they'll never change their mind if you don't get better ideas to them. That's why we're doing this show. I'm doing this show so I can get better ideas to the brainwashed Democrats so that they'll know that they're part of an evil organization that does nothing but cause trouble. And I'm also doing this show so that I can change Rick and anybody watching this to understand, to educate people that Islam is an evil death cult. And if you really care about gays and transgenders and transsexuals, then you will understand that Islam wants to kill those people. 7,000 homosexuals were murdered in Iran in the past couple of decades. 7,000 people thrown off buildings. And you're for it. Islam is a religion of peace.
Have I ever said Islam is a religion of peace?
You refuse to say it's evil.
No, what I'm saying is...
1.4 billion. Some of them have to be nice.
Why is Linda Salzer such a prominent,
Linda Sarsour.
Wait.
why is she such a prominent person among the women? I mean,
Exactly, because the feminists are idiots. And most feminists don't have any idea of what I'm saying. If there are any feminists watching this right now, Islam is tearing off the clitorises of 200 million women in Africa. Okay? There are 90% of all Egyptian women and Somali women have their genitals mutilated. And so don't... Oh, and I know you love homosexuals. Well, it's punishable by death in many Muslim countries. So don't you tell me that you care about women. Don't tell me you care about, and don't you tell me that you care about women and transgenders showing up here in a dress and telling me how much you care about transgenderism. You don't give a flying fuck what happens to gay people in the Middle East, in Muslim countries, because you won't say one word against Islam. You won't even accept that there's anything wrong with Islam.
No, you keep putting fucking...
No, you keep saying it's a numbers game. Most of them are okay. You said last time, well, they're not all doing it. It's an evil death cult, and you have to admit it.
No.
Well, there you go. So you're a hypocrite. When you say you care about gays, you're just lying.
Thanks for letting me talk. The thing that will do the most to fix the excesses of religion, including the excesses of Islam, is rising standard of living around the world and people turning away from primitive beliefs or old beliefs as technology makes things better. It's what's been going on for 200 years or more. That people embrace modern ways of life.
Okay, number one. The Iranians are right now desperately trying to get modern technology, nuclear bombs, so they can drop them on us. So the rise of technology has not diminished Islam's radicalism. There is no evidence for what you're saying. As far as standard of living, some of those Arab countries have the highest standards of living in the world. And they're still executing people for blasphemy and adultery. There are countries where they have much higher. Which is the one? Dubai and Abu Dhabi. They've got higher standards of living than any country on earth.
We have a lot of money.
Yeah, and it hasn't changed one bit what they think. They're still keeping slaves. They still stone you to death if you commit adultery. Nothing's changed, Rick, because there is a difference between your standard of living, the amount of money you have, the amount of technology you have, and your personal philosophy. See, there are still Christians in America that believe in a holy book and a flying God in the heavens and angels and trumpets, and they still believe in that stuff. And technology hasn't made any difference. And a rising standard of living. There's a resurgence of Christianity. Do you know there's more Christians in the world now than there have ever been?
Makes sense.
So rising technology and standards of living has not changed people's inner philosophy. That is a fallacy. That's a delusion that people that love science like to think.
I'll give you some of that.
And even if it was true, you're basically agreeing with me. You're saying that Islam is evil and primitive, and you're hoping that in the future, technology and standards of living will get rid of it. You're just not honest enough to admit it.
Not exactly, no.
How do you feel about the first? Real quick,
No, I think that the pernicious practices and the bad parts, I think will. You like to argue that Islam can't change because it's heretical for it to change.
It's punishable by death. It's called apostasy.
And which makes it different from Christianity, which got rid of its bad parts because it was allowed to change.
Well, there weren't really bad parts. What you're talking about, I'll even help your argument. There are a lot of people there right now watching this saying, well, didn't they stone women in the Bible? Doesn't it say you're supposed to stone women? That was, if it ever was practiced, the best knowledge we have, the best research we has, says that the early Jews said, this is bullshit, let's just pay a fine. None of those laws were, stoning people for speaking partially to their parents. All that stuff was not particularly practiced. And we know for a fact that you could pay a fine for a lot of those things. The religion that kept that up is Islam. That hasn't changed. So you can't say it's just a practice that's going to be reformed.
Right.
It's part of the religion. Why not just say that it should go away? That it's a bad religion? I've got more to say.
Hold on. So how long do you think it would take to eradicate Islam, since that's what you want?
It might take a century because it's hard, but I think we should drop Bibles into Arab countries. I think there should be radio-free Christianity. I think we should be bombarding them with information.
Who's supposed to do this? The governments of the U.S.?
All the Western governments should fight it tooth and nail. Fight it to the end. Do you know where Islam is dying? Where there's the least belief in Islam? Iran. And the reason is because they're trying to force them to believe this horrible shit. And so a lot of young Iranians are saying, man, if this is Islam, we don't want to believe in it. And so they're adopting atheism. Atheism is on the rise in Iran. So it can be beaten, but it can't be beaten with people like you that are brainwashed, that try to support it.
So how do you feel about our first state representative, Islamic state representative, calling the president a motherfucker? Can we get it's related to what you're saying?
I don't know. I'm okay with. I don't think there's a connection between her being Muslim necessarily and her calling. I mean, she's a liberal Democrat, and I believe her calling the president a motherfucker comes more from political opposition than from her religion.
No, it's part of the religion. It's the gangsterism. It's the
Yeah.
same thing that makes you afraid to offend Islam is what gives her the strength to be a gangster, to talk like that. Because it's a brutal religion. It's a brutal cult that tries to intimidate people. So she's doing what her religion tells her to do. And by the way, your hero, Alexandria Cortez,
Yeah.
who you said you'd vote for, if she got the nomination, was old enough, and was running against a typical Republican, she actually won't say whether she's against sanctioning and embargoing Israel to destroy their economy. It's called the divestment, the boycott, divest, and sanction movement. And like a good Democrat, she wants to impose that. She refuses to denounce that against Israel.
All right,
How
so
do you
here's
feel
what I
about
want to
that?
do.
What do you think about that, Rick? Would you still vote for her, even though she wants to boycott Israel?
Probably.
This is fascinating. So you would vote for a candidate that wants to boycott Israel, that wants the United States to embargo Israel.
Based on what? Based on how they get along with the Palestinians?
Who gives a fuck? Why?
All right, here's what I want to
No,
do.
no. There's no excuse for that, Rick. You're willing to vote for somebody that will boycott Israel, that will get in control of the United States government and impose an embargo on Israel. Is that what you're saying?
Not really, no.
If she was running against a typical Republican, would you vote for her, knowing that she will not take a stand on this issue? She will not, officially, she will not denounce the boycott, boycott, divest, and sanction movement. She will not do that. So you'll vote for her against a typical Republican.
A, she's not running for president.
Please, Rick.
B,
no
if
one,
she
no one
were to
believes that
run
shit.
for president, she
Yes.
would have to clarify.
Well, it doesn't matter if she clarifies it. We know what she's saying. Rick, are you for boycotting, divesting, and sanctioning against Israel? Yes or no? No. Okay, but you'll vote for someone who can't make a statement.
Probably, yeah. Here's what I want to do.
No, wait a minute.
Here's what I want.
do you
Let me
realize
talk.
that if she
Let me
did-
fucking talk
All
and
right,
quit changing
all
this.
right, go ahead.
I want to bring in either one or two people. Either we bring in somebody from an Islamic center who can speak in favor of it,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not good at arguing against what all that you're saying, or B, we bring in two people, somebody who you pick and somebody I pick. I'd like to bring in somebody who knows Islam or who knows these issues from a side that doesn't loathe Islam and want to eradicate. You okay with that? You bring in somebody, I bring in somebody.
I actually think that if you brought somebody in here, I would have to do a few weeks of research. That would take about 80 hours, and I'd have to buy materials and I'd have to prepare for it. I'd probably have to learn some Arabic, and I really don't have time to do that. I think it would be better if you just went to the internet and read these laws. Just read the laws in those countries, Rick. I don't need an expert to tell me that it's illegal, punishable by death to be gay in Iran. What expert is going to say? I don't need an expert to know that Iran is trying to develop a nuclear bomb to drop on Israel. I don't need an expert to tell me that slavery was legal in Saudi Arabia in my lifetime. These are not debatable. I don't need someone to come in here and lie to tell me, oh no, that's not true.
All these things are bad.
Yes.
Most of the things you said are true. But I don't think that all adds up to needing to do a full push to eradicate Islam.
Well,
Because you
okay,
only
well,
mentioned the most horrible aspects of it.
I only
And they're
mentioned,
plenty horrible.
but I only mentioned the most horrible aspects of Nazism. And there were good things about Nazism, great architecture.
No, their architecture was kind of
they're
cheesy.
good architecture. I think and they were great with developing military weaponry. Pretty good at the Olympics. They won the '36 Olympics, even though Jesse Owens won a few races.
All right.
So there were good things about Nazism too. But as far as something you should believe in, no, it's not. It's not worth it. See, Rick, because you're a scientist, you don't understand. It's not a matter of percentages. When a religion does lots and lots of evil things, it can't be believed in anymore.
But most of the people, and I'll do the numbers game again, 1.8 billion people live as Muslims. Most of these people aren't evil, right?
Actually,
You're going to say 1.8 billion people are evil?
if you go to every one of these countries, the majority of them support these laws. That's what they're told to believe. If the majority of Muslims in Pakistan believe, they tear
Now,
down.
wouldn't you agree?
You
No.
asked me a question, now I get to answer it. The majority of Muslims believe that in Pakistan that you should be executed if you try to spread Christianity in Pakistan.
A month ago,
They've done studies.
you said you have nothing against Muslim people,
I don't.
but now you're saying that they're all evil.
No, what I'm saying is this.
And
They-
let
I-
me
what-
and
Rick,
let me
you-
make
you-
one more
wait,
point.
wait
Let
a-
me make one more point. Isn't in your efforts to eradicate Islam,
Yes.
they seem like they would be equivalent to what I would want to see in trying to change Islam, which is provide people with information, right? Information's a big part of it,
Okay.
right? You want to drop Bibles.
Sure.
I mean, that's providing people with alternate information.
I don't think Arabs are evil. I think they should give up their religion. I don't think you're evil. I think you should give up being a Democrat. I don't think all Germans are evil, but they should not be Nazis.
What would you think of an information campaign it waged in Pakistan, in Indonesia?
That would be great, but
that says that here's what we're okay with Islam, because there are a lot of moral precepts under Islam. Not every precept of it. If you listed all the principles of Islam, now you'd say that there are lots of moral precepts. You would argue, because of what you've read, that these precepts of being nice and being fair only apply among Muslims, but they
actually,
don't.
that's very perceptive of you. You're right.
All right, but if
They
there
can do
were
what they want.
if there were an information campaign
Yes.
that said, "Look, this is what living in a modern world we would think is reasonable, and what is pernicious." I mean,
Yeah, but you've got to admit right here, right now, that you think that Islam needs to be eradicated. It needs to be gone. You
no,
have to
I can't
admit that.
agree to that, because there's not all of Islam is evil.
And not all of Nazism is evil. Great architecture. Great aerospace program, airplane development.
I hate this topic.
Nice tanks.
Should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on. I'm
So-
disgusted.
There seems to be-
Wait a minute, wait. You just said that you'd vote
So
for
you're-
Alexandria Cortez, even
Yeah.
though she said that she would boycott, that she can't take a stand on whether to boycott, divest, and sanction Israel. And you'd still vote for her.
Yeah.
Okay, well, do you understand what that would do to Israel if the United States boycotted them? It would destroy Israel. That country would be wiped out.
All right, I won't vote for Ocasio-Cortez until she changes that stance.
Well, do you really believe
president until she changes that
Do you really
stance.
believe that she's going to change her stance and then you'd believe her? If she got up there and said, "You know what? Changed my mind. I was wrong about that." You'd vote for her then.
Yes.
So are you naive? I mean,
I think people can change their minds.
well, I don't think so, Rick. I think once you've said something that stupid, you disqualify yourself to be president.
I disagree with you.
So you can say, I think Israel should be destroyed using boycott, divestment, and sanction, and then a year later say, change my mind. And then you get Democrats' votes like you?
Yes.
Okay, then you're naive. Because it's like saying, I believe in destroying California. Oh, change my mind. And then I get a vote because I'm a Democrat and you're a Democrat.
Yep.
Okay, well, you're brainwashed. You're a zombie.
No.
You've given up all reason. If you're so naive that you think a Democrat can go from wanting to destroy Israel to saying, bad idea, and then you'll vote for the person, then you care more about being a Democrat than being a rational, logical, wise human being. You're no longer have reason of your own. You're a zombie. You're a drone.
No. I don't want Israel boycotted or destroyed.
Then why will you vote for Cortez when that's what she thinks?
I would wait and see if she changed her mind.
Well, Rick, I
Politicians change their minds.
Yeah, politicians are wrong.
Trump used to be 100% pro-choice. Now he's 100% pro-life.
Yeah, I don't care about that issue.
All right. So
and I also don't think the president has a lot of control over that one. So, but the president.
well, yeah, he does. He's the one who picks justices for the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody is going to make abortion illegal in this country. But I do think the president could sanction Israel and destroy it. If there are already several Democrat members of Congress, including the Muslim ones that were elected in Michigan, that believe in destroying Israel. Did you know that a Democrat in Michigan, the one that called Trump a motherfucker, wants to destroy Israel? Would you vote for her?
No.
Would you vote for her?
How does she want to destroy Israel?
Well, there's a picture of Israel on a map in her office that shows no Israel, just Palestine.
Then yeah, I wouldn't vote for her.
But she's a Democrat.
I don't have to vote like every Democrat. There's this Tulsi, what's her name, out of Hawaii, who just declared, Tulsi Gabbard, just declared her candidacy for president. She's a strong Democrat. Well, actually, no, she's not. Well, anyway, she's a Democrat. I wouldn't vote for her.
Okay, you're not a Democrat.
Why? No, in fact,
You're a Republican. You're a Republican.
Most of what I know or think I know, I get from Twitter, and most of the Democrats on Twitter hate Tulsi Gabbard, even though she's Democrat, because she's got a lot of loathsome points of view. She's pro-Assad. Are you pro-Assad? I mean, I know that's a tricky question because it's a mess over there, but she's got a lot of. She seems kind of terrible.
There are no Republicans that are like that. You're a Republican, Rick.
What do you? Well, you can be a Democrat and be against some Democrats.
No, the
Oh,
Democrat.
this is a dumb
the
argument.
Democrat Party should reject anybody that wants Israel destroyed.
But what aren't we arguing about whether? So, frickin' Ocasio-Cortez hasn't even said one way or the other what she would do. She just said.
So do you really buy that? Is that what you're allowed to do? I mean, are you that naive or disingenuous? What is it, Rick?
Well, here's what would happen. You love to corner me based on, here's what would happen. People would talk to Ocasio-Cortez and said, here's what would happen if Israel were embargoed or boycotted. Do you want that? And she'd be like, well, let me look at this. Let me look at the issue. And then other people would get with her. Maybe the same people would say, you have to take a stand on this, and you can't be agnostic on this issue if you're going to run for president, which she isn't. She's 30 years old. She won't even be allowed to run for president for 2 more presidential election cycles. And so her people would say, look, as Americans, we support Israel. So if she's in no position to embargo Israel. By the time she would be in a position to embargo Israel, she would be against embargoing Israel. If she didn't come out against embargoing Israel, I guess I wouldn't vote for her, but I can still be a fucking Democrat. Now, I got another guy I want to bring in.
You just talked.
Hold on. All right, I got another guy I want to bring in. I got my nephew Justin, who is an information dude. He goes around and he speaks. He's a pro-Israel speaker. He goes in, he knows a lot of shit about it. He goes around to places and I want to bring him in. Because he's a guy who actually knows a lot of stuff. You okay with bringing in a pro-Israel guy to talk about Israel issues? Or does that necessitate too much homework doing? He would be more on your side than mine.
No, I have never said that I want to prevent you from bringing people in. I'm just saying that I don't want someone to come in here and say that I don't speak Arab, so I haven't really read the Quran in Arabic. That's one of their tricks that they use.
Well, here's what I don't want that person either.
But
no, here's what I want. I want to shop around. I want to go to the UCLA or USC. There has to be some Islam center where they have people who can go around and talk about this stuff in ways that people who aren't overly educated in this stuff can understand.
Okay, these are the arguments. I know they're arguments. The first thing they're going to say is that for every verse that says that Islam is violent, there's another verse that says Islam is a religion of peace. But they don't know, most Americans are too stupid to know that the verses in the back of the book toward the end of Muhammad's life are to be taken whenever there's a disagreement. So all the verses at the end of Muhammad's life, when he was a successful raider, slaver, and conqueror and murderer, those are the ones that the Islamists have to believe in every situation. So the verses in the beginning of the book that say, be nice to everyone, those are during the period when Muhammad was trying to use persuasion. He was so they try to tell you, well, here's a verse that discounts that. The second thing they argue is they say, we haven't read the Quran in Arabic. If you read it in Arabic, you'd know that it's not really saying that. And I don't know Arabic. The third thing they do is they bring out a modern version of the Quran that came out a year ago.
It's been cleaned up and all that
They
stuff.
clean up all those things so that they can send them to Western countries and confuse Americans.
All right, but you get...
So they take out all the anti-Semitic things. I have access to a copy that is directly translated from the Arabic, where it says all kinds of things about what they're going to do to Jews and Christians. But I really don't want to spend 80 hours trying to research this.
Instead of doing that, where do you get most of your information about Islam? Reading, listening to podcasts?
Yes.
So, is there somebody...
I also had a copy of the original Quran in here that I borrowed, and I read that. And it's by the way, if you ever read the real Quran, the original one that hasn't been cleaned up, it says what they're going to do to you and me, and it ain't pretty. So I don't know why I need to bring... And it's also, they're allowed to lie. Because they don't want you to think that the goal of the Islamist is not to have an honest argument with you. The goal is to get them is to get more people to accept them so that they can eventually take over your country. They're not trying to... The goal of Islam is to take over countries. They're like the Roman Empire.
Let me do this then. Let me shop around. Let me get a list of people who can come in and talk about this. Not necessarily Muslim.
Well, then I have to get experts that'll argue on my side, and I don't think that's part of our show, to be honest with you.
You bring up a bunch of stuff, and I can't. Well, I have to. You're having me do a bunch of homework.
Well, you can look on the internet right now and find out if you can be executed for being a Christian in Pakistan.
I assume you can,
Well, then why isn't that enough?
because you make it seem as if Islam is hopeless and you just have to eradicate it, which is.
Well, don't you think it'd be a better world if everyone was atheist? Don't you think that's the way
I'm a
things are going?
science guy. I think that a religion eventually kind of fades as.
So you want to eradicate Judaism and Christianity?
I just think that scientific beliefs. I think that.
So it's okay, right? You're not
What?
an evil person. Why aren't you evil? Because you think that eventually science will will push out religion.
Not entirely, but a lot of it.
So why aren't you evil? Why am I the bigot?
Because I think the best information eventually wins out, which doesn't.
Well, why doesn't that obtain with Islam?
I think it does, but you want to eradicate. I
Right.
Think but I think that Islam and other religions eventually get cleaned up by people having.
Well, that's fine, but as a scientist, don't you think eventually people will give up Judaism and Christianity?
To a large extent, yeah.
And you're in
here's
favor
what
of
I
that. You believe in that. That's okay with
Well,
you,
no, I
right?
think here's what I think happens over the next 200-300 years. First of all, humans get augmented and all this stuff. You have all sorts of humans and transhumans. You have different communities operating at different levels of technology and different levels of embracing technology. You have traditional communities under whatever religion you think or under whatever lifestyle you can think of. The 300 years from now, there will still be large communities of unaugmented humans leading what we would consider fairly normal human lives. There will be even larger communities of people who've embraced technology to live indefinitely, to move their consciousness in and out of various vessels, all this high-tech stuff that will be working in partnership with various AIs and all that stuff. You've got the low-tech humans or the medium-tech humans, you've got the high-tech humans, plus augmented, plus AI, and within each community, people will have beliefs or vestiges of religious beliefs. It's going to be a whole variety of stuff, and some religious beliefs will survive.
Okay, well, but I still don't understand. I think that Islam should go away now, so I'm evil. You're telling me that all religions will fade away, so
No,
you're
not
just
fade away to nothing.
So
but,
you're just being reasonable. Why am I not being reasonable?
well, because you can't get 1.8 billion people.
I thought you just told me the whole world will eventually start adopting
that's-
more scientific beliefs.
Yeah, but that doesn't
And that
mean
the whole
religion goes
world-
away entirely. But like the
Well,
pernicious aspects
What
of religion.
pernicious aspects of Christianity are there?
I mean, there's some there's intolerance of, depending on what Christians you're talking about, there's intolerance of anything besides straightforward heterosexuality.
Okay, is that
You're fairly intolerant of anything besides, you don't believe in trans people. I mean,
no? I think they need psychiatrists.
yeah, so I mean, like stuff like that can still go away.
Well, but it's not my belief in religion is not what makes me think that.
Yeah, but
the reason I don't believe in transgenderism is that I don't believe a sane person chops off
Right,
their
fine,
genitals.
but if you
I make that decision based on logic.
Yeah, but I'm saying that belief
Has
is
nothing to
also
do-
shared by a lot of
It
Christians.
doesn't. There's the Christian religion doesn't say anything about transgenderism.
Well, it wasn't a thing in biblical times.
That's
well, I
right.
Mean,
So you just proved my point.
I mean, because there wasn't surgery or any of that stuff.
That's right.
But there were people who dressed, cross-dressed and probably
Yeah,
identified.
the Jewish religion is against cross-dressing.
All right, so that I would say that's a less than great aspect of Judaism and Christianity.
Why is that a bad thing? I'm against cross-dressing as well. Why is that bad?
'Cause-
Why does that need to be eradicated?
Because I think it's intolerant, and that there's nothing particularly wrong with identifying with the gender that you weren't born as.
I think it's a sign of mental illness. And I think it's perfectly justified to try to reason with people and get men to stop dressing as women and keep the genders
So
separate.
somehow
in that
you're.
way.
I don't want to.
I don't see anything wrong with that. I think from
So
a
you're
logical
thinking that
standpoint,
you're thinking
it's a
that
sign of
everybody
mental
is
illness.
born perfectly at home with their biological gender, and that there's no possibility of any kind of biological glitch where somebody can be mentally of one gender but physically of a different gender.
Yeah, it's not scientific, Rick. There's no scientific proof for that. It is a fantasy on your part.
Do you think people can be born gay?
We haven't really shown what causes
Do
homosexuality.
you think that gayness
but-
should be tolerated?
Yeah, I do.
All right. So you would kind of agree that if
But I don't
if there's
think
a strain of Christianity that doesn't tolerate gay people, that maybe that's something about Christianity that could go away.
Well, there's a difference. Most of the Christians I know believe that Christianity should not be encouraged, but they don't think
No,
it's
homosexuality.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Christian position is that homosexuality should not be encouraged.
Well,
So it
It's-
should
but wait a second,
it should
that's
be
not a unitary principle.
It's against the precepts of the Bible. By the way, there's nothing about lesbianism in the Bible. Did you know that?
no.
So if you're a strict Christian, lesbianism is okay.
But the deal is that there's also a variety of toleration among various Christian communities. Some Christian
no,
communities
there
are more.
there are no Christian communities that want to kill people for being gay.
No, but some are more tolerant. Some Christian communities are more tolerant of gay people. They allow them to be clergy. They support gay marriage than other Christian communities.
Yeah, but it's not a religious issue either. There are perfectly secular reasons to be against gay marriage.
Can one say that the religion people say that gay people go to hell? That's pretty cool.
Well, religious people think that Jews go to hell. Some Christians believe Jews go to hell if they don't accept Christ. I'm okay with that. It's their belief. They can believe what they want. So long as they don't try to start it while I'm still alive.
So if they're that brutal in terms of things, then you also want to take out Christians?
No, but now that you mention it, I actually think that the Roman Catholic Church is so corrupt that I would be happy if it just faded away, because the sex scandals have gotten all the way to the root of Catholicism. It's so prevalent. There's so many incidences of molestation that I don't know how they're ever going to reform it.
Well, some people say
And-
they should reform it by allowing clergy to marry.
Yeah, but that would show homosexual priests in a very poor light, wouldn't it, Rick? Since most of the molesting of Catholic kids was by gay priests.
I don't know the
No,
statistics.
the statistics are, it was almost, the vast majority of it
Okay.
was male against little boys.
But What if the church allowed gay marriage? Allowed gay priests to marry dudes?
Jesus, Rick. There's no.
Father McMeany gets to marry.
In the original. There was an edict. I believe it was the Greek. They had the Council of Nicaea. I believe the Council of Nicaea was an early Christian council that decided. It wasn't the Council of Nicaea. It was later. But there was in the Middle Ages, I believe, or before that, there was a council of the early Christian church where they decided that priests shouldn't marry. And the reason is that they, among other things, they were trying to control the distribution of property to the children of the priests. They were worried that the church property would be...
That happened 1,000 years ago.
But my point is, it's not in the Bible
Yeah.
that even the Christian Bible,
Yeah, the early
that a priest shouldn't be able to marry.
Okay, so...
Jews, for example, Jewish clergy can marry.
Yeah.
And Protestant clergy can marry. So what I'm saying is, the Catholic Church, if they allowed heterosexual marriage, those heterosexual priests might be able to root out the gay pedophiles that are in the Catholic Church right now.
So,
But I don't see any other than bringing in heterosexual priests. I don't see any way to stop the gay pedophilia that is rampant.
so you want to get rid of Islam and you want to get rid of Catholicism.
Catholicism at this point, I think, is doing more harm than good.
That's like half the population of the world, or 40%.
If they became Protestants, I'd be okay with that. I
Or-
mean,
or
bad
let me-
haircuts on
all right.
those guys from the South.
All right. So one more thing. You hate the numbers game, but there are 1.8 billion Muslims in the world. 400 million of them have the loathsome practice of female genital mutilation. Why don't the other 1.4 billion Muslims? I don't think that 1.4 billion who don't do that are somehow itching to do it. It's like, dang, we got to be more like the Muslims across Africa who are doing it. The 1.4 billion across the rest of the world who don't, because it's mostly along that strip in Africa, right? Somalia and Egypt and all that.
There are some Christians that, I shouldn't say this, but just in the interest of truth, there are some Christians and heathens, polytheists,
Theists.
whatever, that are practicing it too, because it was common in parts of Africa.
Yeah, but most of the world
But,
is like...
but it's almost all Muslim.
But I would think that most of the rest of the world is like, including most of the 1.4 billion Muslims who
Yeah.
don't practice, they're like,
Yes.
wow, I wish we could do this. We just can't get away
Well, they
with it.
do other things, though.
Yeah,
As I
but-
say, they're stoning people to death in Afghanistan. They don't mutilate genitals in Afghanistan, but they will throw acid in your face if you commit adultery. Or a lot of kids they try to murder the little girls if they try to get an education. You're all about Me Too, right? The Me Too movement. What about, as a member of the Me Too movement, if they throw acid in the face of a little girl that's trying to get an education,
Yeah, I don't like
does
that.
that mean that Islam is evil?
It means the people who do that are evil.
And they just happen to be Presbyterian, Lutheran?
It's probably more common in Islam
Why do you suppose that is?
because they've been taught to believe that that's what Islam teaches.
Isn't that what Islam teaches, Rick?
Not all of Islam.
Well, Islam teaches that you should be killed if you commit adultery. So they're just doing what their religion tells them.
Again, 1.8 billion people, most of whom do not kill people for committing adultery. So the deal is, so the key,
in every
the
one of
key,
these countries, they are doing these things, though.
the key to
They all have their own little thing that they're doing, Rick.
the key to.
There are no happy liberal Muslim
All
countries.
right. Well, this is a dumb discussion because A, you're not going to eradicate Catholicism or Islam, and the key to changing
Yeah, but
Islam and Catholicism is people.
I'm doing it
Getting-
right now. I'm talking right now. Hey, Catholics out there, I think things aren't going well, guys. At first, it was a few bad apples. Now it turns out it goes all the way up to the archbishops. It's going all the way up to the highest branches, even at the Vatican. They don't know what to do about it. They can't root out all the pedophile priests, most of whom happen to be gay. So, listen, I don't know how you're going to work it out. If I was Catholic, I would become Lutheran.
Let's take a break. But let's say that it is a pervasive problem in the Catholic Church. Does that mean that 1 billion Catholics across the world have to give up their religion entirely?
No, but if you're a truly religious person, you look at the situation, you say, you know what? I'm not going to go encourage this church. I'm going to go to a different church. Listen, they can do whatever the fuck they want. Rick, listen to me. They can do what they want. But I'm a religious person. And I wouldn't go to a church where I saw this kind of thing. I'd say, enough. I'm going to switch over to something more to my liking.
You've never been a Catholic. A lot of Catholics, there are 1 billion Catholics in the world,
Yeah,
I think.
I know.
A lot of Catholics would say, this is a religion that's been around for 1,900 years.
What I would do is I would start a movement that we're going to bring in heterosexual priests who will marry women and keep an eye on all the priests around them and not cover for them.
Do you have
and if they refused, I would try it for 5 years. If in the end the Vatican said no, we'll never do it, then I'd become a Protestant.
Would you let gay priests marry guys?
I don't believe in gay priests. It's against the religion. Homosexuality is against the Christian religion. I'm sorry, you can have a religion where it's a good thing.
So 1 billion people have to give up their religion because you're not going to let gays into that religion.
Rick, you keep doing it. You keep making these headlines. 1 billion people have to give up their religion. No, Rick, they can do whatever the fuck they want. They can be in whatever religion they want. I don't care. They don't have to do anything.
You only care about Muslims. You don't care about Catholics.
But what I'm saying is, we're having a discussion here. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to pass a law. I'm telling you what I would do if I was a Catholic. I would say you either bring in heterosexual priests that can marry, or I'm out of here. I'm going to become a Protestant. Now, the others can do whatever the hell they want. But I'm presenting my philosophy on this show. I'm not trying to institute a crusade. And by the way, earlier on, I got furious with you because you said I wanted to start a new crusade against Islam. The Crusades were a defensive war. Egypt and Turkey used to be Christian countries. They were the heart of Christianity. They were taken over and conquered and turned Muslim by the Muslims, by Arab conquests. And the Crusades were just an attempt to protect what little Christians were left alive.
All 4 of them? Or more than that, I guess.
Today, in Egypt and Syria, 20% of the people are Christian. Because they survived back from the time of Byzantium, back from the very earliest times, but in Turkey, they eradicated them. There's no more Christians in Turkey or Saudi Arabia. Or in Lebanon, they just caused a mass exodus of Christians. Lebanon used to be predominantly Christian.
I know. Lebanon used to be a nice country.
It used to be Civil war with who? Islam.
Oh.
So Islam has turned Lebanon into an Islamic country, which is so the Crusades were an attempt to stop what was happening. Christianity began in the Middle East. That's why Egypt was a Christian country.
So you had 4 crusades, right? Basically?
Yeah.
About 100 years apart?
I don't know, 50 years here, 30 years there, 100 years there.
So some of them worked, you're saying?
No, ultimately, the first crusade made it all the way to Jerusalem with terrible, terrible slaughter. And they managed to set up a Christian kingdom in what was then Palestine or Philistia or whatever, and they kept it for 200 or 300 years, and finally they were forced out. So the Islam was able to defeat them. Then Islam went on to destroy Turkey. They conquered Constantinople. They invaded all the way up to Austria, where they were stopped at the gates of Vienna by Jan Sobieski, the king of the Poles. Islam then went through North Africa, swept all the way across the Mediterranean into Spain, and were stopped in France at the Battle of Tours by Charles Martel,
All right, let's break.
king of the Franks.